Part 10. Harvard and American Culture. Harvard is probably America's most famous university, and like Yale, it has had an outsized influence on American culture. Now, when we think of the Ivy League, we think of academic excellence, but also great wealth and privilege. And the image of the student wearing a hoodie, eating nothing but takeout food while burning the midnight oil studying for exams, that just doesn't apply to Harvard. We tend to think of the students there as being very rich, which is true. But Harvard has produced some of our greatest writers, politicians, and jurists. It's a long list. T.S. Eliot, one of the giants of 20th century poetry, was born in St. Louis, Missouri. He attended Harvard and took classes from Irving Babbitt, who he considered his mentor. After graduating in 1910, Eliot spent time in England, where he lived for most of his life. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1948, but it was really his earlier work, The Waste Land, for quartets, and The Hollow Men that made him a giant. His poetry helped to define a generation and remains relevant today. And then there's Ralph Waldo Emerson, born in Boston in 1803. He attended Harvard Divinity School, though he did not finish his coursework, because he became increasingly critical of organized religion. Emerson was one of the central figures of New England transcendentalism, and he wrote extensively about nature, society, and spirituality. He's best known for his essay Self-Reliance, in which he famously wrote, "Trust thyself. That which is great in you must be great in others, too." How many times have we all needed to hear those words? John Kenneth Galbraith was another influential Harvard graduate. He was born in 1904 in a small town in Ontario, Canada. He attended both Harvard College and Harvard Business School, earned a doctorate in economics from the University of California at Berkeley. In 1949, Galbraith published his first book, The Great British Inflation. He went on to become a well-known economist and served as the U.S. ambassador to India and later to the United Nations. He was a strong critic of what he saw as the negative effects of globalization. One of his books, The Affluent Society, published in 1958, sharply criticized middle-class values, particularly consumerism. In his view, the pursuit of material wealth led to social injustice and environmental degradation, so he argued that government should do more to address these issues. Galbraith was a prolific writer with more than 30 books to his name. He died in 2006 at age 100. The influence of Harvard goes far beyond its graduates. Its faculty have been instrumental in advancing knowledge in various fields. John Rawls, for example, was a political philosopher whose work has had a profound impact on contemporary political thought. Born in 1921 in Princeton, New Jersey, he attended Harvard College and later earned his doctorate in philosophy from the University of Oxford. He taught at several universities, including Princeton and MIT, before joining the faculty at Harvard in 1971. At Harvard, he developed his theory of justice, which argues that society should be structured in such a way that everyone has an equal opportunity to pursue their goals, regardless of their background or circumstances. This theory is outlined in his most famous book, A Theory of Justice, published in 1971. The book was highly influential in the field of political philosophy and remains a classic in the field. In the late 1990s, Michael Sandel, the NT, and Robert M. Bays, professor of government at Harvard, came up with the idea of a public philosophy which sought to make philosophy more accessible and relevant to a broader audience. As part of this initiative, he developed a course called Justice, which explored different conceptions of justice and how they applied to real-world problems. The course was so popular that it quickly became one of the largest courses at Harvard. Sandel's lectures were recorded and released as a podcast, which quickly became one of the most popular podcasts in the world. Sandel has written several books, including Liberalism and Its Discontents and The Tyranny of Merit. Both are important contributions to contemporary political thought. Martin Luther King Jr., the iconic civil rights leader, was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. He attended Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, and later enrolled in Boston University's School of Theology. To earn his doctorate in theology, King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 for his work to end racial segregation in the United States. He was assassinated on April 4, 1968. Felix Frankfurter, born in 1882 in the small town of Bitola, in what was then the Ottoman Empire, now part of Greece. He attended Harvard Law School, becoming one of the youngest people ever to receive a doctorate in law from the institution. Frankfurter taught at several universities, including the University of Michigan and the University of California at Berkeley, before joining the faculty of Harvard Law School in 1930. He was a legal realist, a school of thought that emphasizes the role of social and economic context in the law rather than abstract principles. Frankfurter was a strong advocate for judicial restraint, arguing that judges should be cautious when striking down laws passed by democratically elected legislatures. He served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1937 to 1969. During his tenure, he was one of the most influential justices, writing numerous opinions that shaped American law. Frankfurter was a prolific writer who published several influential books, including The Case of Judicial Paternalism and On Being a Judge. It is difficult to imagine American culture without the influence of these individuals and many other Harvard graduates. Their contributions have shaped our world in profound ways, and yet, despite its impressive legacy, Harvard is not without its critics. Some argue that its immense wealth and prestige have given it too much power and influence, while others criticized the university's handling of sexual assault cases. Regardless of these criticisms, however, there's no denying that Harvard has played a major role in shaping American culture. But Harvard isn't only important because of its graduates or even its faculty. It's become something of a cultural icon, synonymous with academic excellence and privilege. We see this in popular culture, from movies to TV shows to music. For example, the movie Good Will Hunting, which is set in Boston, features Matt Damon and Robin Williams as a janitor who works at MIT and discovers that he has a genius IQ. Although the movie is set at MIT, it was actually filmed at Harvard, and the opening scene is meant to evoke the traditional rivalry between Harvard and Yale. In the movie, the two schools compete against each other in a sort of academic showdown. There's also the movie Legally Blonde, which follows a sorority girl who attends Harvard Law School. Of course, the movie is a comedy, and it plays on stereotypes about both sorority girls and Harvard Law. But it also shows just how powerful the Harvard brand is. The movie implies that if you go to Harvard, you must be intelligent and driven, even if you're a bit ditzy. Then there's the TV show The Good Wife, which follows a wife who returns to work as a lawyer after her husband, a politician, is involved in a sex scandal. The show is set in Chicago and has no direct connection to Harvard. However, the lead character, Alicia Florrick, is a graduate of Harvard Law School. This is just one example of how the Harvard brand can add credibility to a TV show. In this case, Alicia's intelligence and competence are called into question. When she re-enters the workforce, her Harvard degree serves as a reminder that she is, in fact, a highly skilled lawyer. Music has also been influenced by the Harvard brand. The band, the Presidents of the United States of America, for example, released a song called Harvard in 1995. The song is a parody of the typical college football fight song. The lyrics are nonsensical and repetitive, just like those of a real college fight song, and the song is deliberately overlong. All of this is meant to poke fun at what the band saw as the arrogance and elitism of Harvard students. In literature, the Harvard Crimson is a fictional newspaper that appears in the Harry Potter series. The Crimson is modeled after the Harvard Crimson, the oldest continuously published daily newspaper in the United States. The inclusion of the Crimson in the Harry Potter series has done a lot to promote the Harvard brand, even though the two institutions have no formal connection. As you can see, the influence of Harvard extends far beyond the classroom. It's a cultural icon that has been co-opted by Hollywood and popular culture, and it's hard to imagine American culture without it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.